Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Medicine Man, Swamp Water Roots TV once again. Um, this morning we want to discuss, and I'm going on my morning walk. But this morning we're going to discuss spiritual paths and your spiritual paths. Um, a lot of times, many of us we go into different spiritual paths. We observe and we study different spiritual paths. You know, some of us want to go into Ifa. Some of us want to go into Palo Mayombe. Some of us stick with our hoodoo, our root working. Some of us go into various other traditions. But the whole idea, I think, for the most part, is acknowledging your spiritual path, man. Acknowledging what's really, really for you. A lot of spiritual traditions in America have become trendy. You see, the pretty beads, the colorful hats, and everything. But, you know, at Swamp Water Roots, we kind of focus more on the culture. And we extract our magic. We extract our hoodoo. We extract our voodoo. We extract our Apollo from our roots. You see? And your roots is your culture. And I see a lot of people and I get phone calls from a lot of people that actually went into Ifa, for example, my first example. And going into Ifa, they still don't have a sense of fulfillment. And I've always asked that question, why? Why does a person who is seeking spirituality, why is a person who is seeking some kind of spiritual enlightenment and connections with their ancestors, how do they go into a spiritual tradition like Ifa and yet make no contact with their ancestors? I'm going to repeat that. How can someone come into a rich spiritual tradition like Ifa and Palo, let's not exclude Palo, Ifa and Palo, and yet they make no connections with their ancestors? But yet we are taught that these spiritual systems are ancestral. You see? Now let's rewind the tape back. We're taught that these spiritual systems are ancestral, correct? Right. But then when you get initiated, when you receive your hand of Ifa, you receive your mantle, the scratching Apollo, it's like, where's your ancestors? Because the first thing they do is scratch you on the nature spirit. In Palo, you get scratched on the nature spirit. Most people are cut on Zalabanda, a nature spirit. Okay? Then when you go into Ifa, you're presented nature spirits. You get you receive your either in Ifa your Eshu or your Legba. You receive a nature spirit. You see? Where's the ancestors? This is what I'm saying. The current paradigm of the ATRs is not reflective of ancestors. It is reflective of nature spirits. It's like, here this Zalabanda, here this Lucero. You got to get this Prenda. You got to get this spirit, that spirit. But nobody teaching you how to work with your ancestors. And this is a very common theme throughout my conversations with people initiated into ATRs. I'm like, where's the ancestors? You got people say, well, I'm an Egun priest. Well, why you ain't teaching the Eguns? Why you telling people about Oshun? Why you ain't teaching people about the ancestors? It has become known to me that most hoodoo practitioners, the real root workers, you guys actually know more. You guys actually participate more, work with your ancestors more than most people I've seen inside ATRs. Seriously. Been to ceremonies, been there and done that. Been to ceremonies where there's no ancestors there at all. No ancestors conjured, no ancestors even spoken about inside ceremonies. I've seen it, kept my mouth closed, of course, but I've seen it because I'm observative. And it's just a crazy thing to where, how are you people saying that these are ancestral religions but they don't teach you about the ancestors at all? And like I said, it seems like the root workers are the only ones. We the only ones build ancestral altars and work directly, strictly with our ancestors. Go to Ifa, they'll tell you, oh, you gotta do something with that shoe real quick, or you got to, go to Apollo, or you got to work with Lucero to open your path. Why can't I work with my ancestors to open my path? Huh? See, this is one of the problems of mixing ancestral science with nature science. One of the problems. Hoodoo root working is an ancestral-based science. Ifa, Palo, supposed to be ancestral-based science, but they are nature spirit-based sciences as the way they are practiced in America. And even in Africa. It's all about the ancestral spirits. One of the common themes when we work with the ancestral spirits, man, from a hoodoo perspective, as a root worker, this is all we work with, because ultimately we were never given the name to spirits. Our ancestors didn't know the names of nature spirits. We didn't know how to call on an Eshu. We didn't know how to call on a Lucero, but we knew how to go into nature. See, we do this. Look at us, deer marks. All these deer hooves coming through. But we knew how to work with the forces of nature. See what I'm saying? You just got to know what things at. Dig down in there. See? We knew how to go down. And there's a hole down there. I know that from experience. But there's a hole down there. I got something buried down there. But, we know from experience, man, on how to tap into the forces of nature and how to find natural energies, and from my perspective, knowing how to find natural energies is very important. Very important, very important. So one of the, like I said, the discussion that we've been having, man, it's like, how can we be in ancestral sciences and not learn about the ancestors? Why are people trying to give you warriors before they teach you how to work with an Egun stick? Why even have an Egun stick? You know what I mean? It's like, I've seen people get ceremonies in the African ancestral religion, but don't receive nothing ancestral. Everything that they receive is nature spirit based. You see? Nothing ancestral. You get this pot, you get this, you get that, you get this, you get that. Nothing ancestral. So the question is now, I gotta let somebody come through. Cemetery hopping. He's cemetery hopping. But the whole idea is, asking that one question. Where are the ancestral tools of your ritual working? Where is the ancestors? Where? Because the more that I read about Ifa, the more that I read and study and talk about Palo as it's being expressed in America, the less we see ancestral participation, the less we see the presence of the ancestors. You can go on Scribe and find plenty of material on Palo. Plenty of them. Every last one, I'm talking about nature spirits. How to work with the Impungos, how to work with the Inkisis, how to work with this, how to work with that, Infuris, how to work with all of these things except the ancestors. But then when we go and look at the Bantu cosmology and the Bantu spiritual practices that Palo Mayombe is based on, when we go and look at the origins of these teachings in Africa, in Cabinda, Angola, and all those places, when we look at how it's practiced there, in comparison to how it's practiced here, I'll be the first to, I don't want to give my personal opinion on it. All I'm going to say is it's not ancestrally practiced and ancestrally based. For an example, a lot of people are going to hate me for this. For example, in Africa, when an ancestral shrine is built, when an ancestral shrine is conjured, constructed, however you want to put it. And this varies amongst different African societies and ethnic groups and tribes. The practice varies, but the principle is primarily still the same. A chief of a tribe dies. A great wise sorcerer of the tribe dies. A great tribesman in the tribe dies. Somebody who accomplished a lot for the tribe, did great things for the people, spiritually inclined. These are the bones that are placed into their spiritual vessels. They take the bones of respected ancestors and they place them into spiritual vessels. Okay? The concept from Africa is that when you are involved in an ancestral-based practice, that the essence of your ancestral part must be